Welcome, one and all. We are back here at Live Better. And if you are wondering what's going on, why does Chad look different? Well, that's because I'm coming to you live from my hotel room this week. I'm actually out of town in the wonderful world of Las Vegas. So we're going to still have the show. We're still going to be here, hopefully. Hotel Wi-Fi willing. We'll see what happens. But that's the beauty of live streaming. One, you can do it from everywhere, but you're also sometimes, in someone else's hands as far as how well the show goes. But that's why we're here every week, so that we can try new things, experiment, and learn together how to live better. And that's what we're going to do this week with our special guest, a dear friend of mine, although he tends to not claim it in public circles, Mike Allton of Agorapulse. And he's going to talk to us this week about sales funnels. Now, I heard funnels, and I won't lie, I mentioned in the preview promo that I thought cake. I thought funnel cake. But that's because if I can think about cake, I tend to just think about cake. But we're going to do sales funnels instead today, and I'm looking forward to it because I tell you what, I don't know that I know anybody who's better at it and does a better job of engaging, getting people excited about tuning in, not just to a live stream show, but then getting them to commit and to do more after they've watched it. He's just genius. And I'm saying that because it's scripted. No, I'm just kidding. I really do feel that way about him. So let's bring on our one and only. And I'm having to like change the way I do a few things here. So I have to like, okay, where's that button now? Because I'm not on my big monitor and everything is there he is.
I thought this was supposed to be with Kate. Wasn't I supposed to be interviewed by Kate?
Sometimes I go by Kate.
In the right place. Hey, Chad. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't write them. They're sent to me and I have to read them. How are you doing, my friend?
Very, very good. Thank you.
Well, good. It hasn't been that long, I guess. We saw each other just recently in Ohio.
In August. That's right. My homeland, in fact, at Social Media Week Lima. I grew up just an hour east of there.
Really? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, that's because you don't pay attention to when I speak, but that's okay. That's all right. We don't all have to know everything. There's Kate. I see her in the chat. Hi, Kate. I thought I was talking to you today.
Oh, you get what you pay for.
That's true.
So, no, that is interesting. And you may have told me before, I'm horrible. My wife is so good at those kinds of things. She's a dance teacher, and I don't know if it's because she's around these kids and she's always learning new names, but she can walk into a room and when she leaves, she could tell you everybody's name, something about them. We've lived in the same place for like 5 years. I still couldn't tell you the people across the street's name. So, and I've met them several times. I'm just horrible at names. So if I call you something other than Mike at some point in the show, just know it wasn't.
It's not even my name, but that's okay.
There you go. Well, no, I'm looking forward to this little chat today because I've been a fan of Agorapulse and all the different things that you guys do over there, and plus your marketing 360 and all of the different little irons you have in the fire. And I know that you and those you work with really take advantage of live streaming to generate sales and to get people into the funnel. But before we really kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it, for those who maybe are a little new or wanting to understand just the funnel thing in general, how would you describe what is a sales funnel, and what makes live streaming an effective way to implement them?
That's definitely a good place to start because, yeah, many of you watching this, or if you're tuning into the replay later, you may have heard about sales funnels. You may obviously know about live streaming and not understand the connection. So let me break that down. A sales funnel is a way to visualize the journey that your prospective customers are going to take up until the point that they actually buy from you. Everybody in the world could be a potential customer, but they're not really. As a business, we tend to want to identify who's more likely to purchase a product or a service that I'm selling. And it starts with people who need the product or the service that I'm selling. And when people are going on their buyer journey, when they're deciding that they need to buy something, it starts with them realizing that they even have a need. Maybe you've never live streamed before, but you're just now discovering, oh, I could live stream for my business. Well, that's going to start a little bit of a journey for yourself in terms of equipment, platforms, software, audience building, all these things that you need to figure out. So you'll start reading, you'll start exploring, you'll start learning. And that's when you start that journey. And a good business recognizes that their customers are going on these different steps and starts to build content and create hooks that can pull them into a funnel. Because at the top of the funnel, if we're visualizing like a normal funnel where you're pouring liquid down in it and it goes down to the bottom, at the top of the funnel, you have people who are just discovering that there's something they could do, that there's something they need, that they have a pain, for instance, and it's gotten too painful and they have come to the understanding that they need to do something about it. Finally, those are the people that are just learning about the kinds of products and services that you offer. And then as they travel down the funnel, they've begun to investigate a little bit more. They've begun to become familiar with what are their options, right? If I want to broadcast a live video, my options are Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, Amazon Live, right? Pinterest just added live video, right? So I would start to learn about the channels that are open to me. And I would start to think about, okay, which ones are really good for me, for my type of product, for the audience that I'm trying to reach. And in that process, you'll begin to learn about the very specific options that you could purchase. And that's when we get into what's called the bottom of the funnel. And Marcus Sheridan would refer to this as a kind of a compare and contrast phase, where now you're thinking about, all right, I need to live stream. I want to live stream to LinkedIn. Here are my 3 or 4 platforms that I can utilize to live stream to LinkedIn. This is what they cost. These are the benefits and features that they have. And I can compare in my mind or maybe on a spreadsheet, depending on how complicated the decision-making process is. These are what I need to invest in. And then you'll make a decision. Now, we look at it as a funnel because at every step of the way, people kind of fall out of the funnel, right? Maybe somebody at the top of the funnel, they learn about live streaming, but they decide, I don't want to. I don't like being on camera, or I don't have the time, or I don't have the budget. And so they fall out. But the people that are left come down to that middle of the funnel phase where they're learning about your specific brand or service, and they're learning about the options available to them. And again, some of those might decide, this isn't the right time for me. I don't have the budget. I've got too many priorities this quarter, whatever the case might be. But then another smaller percentage will move down. So as we're thinking about the business that we're in, the products and services that we offer, and the target audience that we're trying to reach, the job of marketing is to create content for every step of that journey. And it starts with live video, typically at the top of the funnel.
Why live video at the top? Why not
live video
later on?
Yeah, live video has this fantastic way of reaching audiences. Like I'm watching, Kate and other people in the comments right now. Anybody else comes in, they ask a question, we can address it live. And because of the way that social platforms work, the more people come in and tune in, and the more people engage with this particular video, the more people will see it. It has this exponential building impact. But here's the thing. You're going to be reaching people on social media who may not necessarily have a need for this particular content or the particular services that, like Wave.video, for instance, in this case, is offering. So this creates great top of funnel content. Somebody watching this today if they stick around for a while, they might learn how Wave.video is uniquely suited to capture and repurpose video content that's created via live. And they might think, okay, great, that sounds interesting. I'm not doing live video today, but they'll file that away on a shelf someplace and think about it another time. Fast forward 3 months. Now their boss has told them, look, Johnny, I want you to start live streaming every other week, and I want you to repurpose that content to our social channels. And they'll go back to their little mind palace and think, didn't I watch a video with Mike Allton and Chad about repurposing and how to use live streams and work them into the funnel? Oh, yeah, that was all about Wave.video. And if they've had a couple of touch points, they'll recall that brand. That's top of funnel.
Interesting. By the way, folks, in the comments, one, if you have questions for Mike, please throw them at us. We'd love to get those in. And tell us what kind of business you're in, because if we have time, we may try to put together a little mock funnel around the type of business that you do. So just throw those in the comments and let us know about those. You know, something popped in my head when you were talking about the funnel. This is a little kind of just, Chad brain. So be afraid, right? Do you think funnel is a funnel like the right image? Is it the right, when I think of a funnel and you're pouring liquid in it, because you mentioned, with the sales funnel that people fall out, right? But when you're funneling liquid, at some point, everything you've put in goes out the bottom.
That's true. It's a very inaccurate metaphor from that perspective. It's more like a sieve where most of the stuff's falling out and you're really just refining down to the bare minimum that you actually need and can use. Another analogy I often give is pyramids. I'll talk about how savvy businesses will envision the great pyramids of Egypt when they're thinking about their content, they're thinking about what they want to rank for, they're thinking about how they want to convert their target audience. We'll take Wave.video, and let's assume Wave.video really wants to hone in on podcasters and how they can reproduce their podcast audio into a video form. So they'd have a landing page that talks about podcasters and podcasting and how Wave.video has templates and all that kind of stuff. That's at the top of the pyramid. That's the moment where someone who has that need and they've identified what they want to accomplish, they're going to convert. They're going to say, yes, this is what I need. Below that, kind of the middle of the pyramid, I start to suggest that clients build pages that talk about what is an audiogram, right? What is social video? What are some of these key considerations, components, thoughts, aspects of that thing that they want them to convert on? Then at the bottom of the pyramid, the widest part of the pyramid, we create content that is top 10 ways to repurpose a podcast audio, top 10 templates for audiograms for social media. This kind of really loose, general kind of content that's going to bring in a lot of different people and it's going to help them, may or may not necessarily convert them, but at each step of the way, you're linking up, right? That bottom of the pyramid stuff is linking up to the middle of the pyramid stuff, is linking up to the top of the pyramid stuff. Now, if you take that mind mapped pyramid and turn it upside down, that's your sales funnel. Still has the same issue, right? Where people are falling out, and we're not accommodating for that. But that's the same metaphor.
It'd be interesting to see like a three-dimensional kind of pyramid put together, because then you have the multiple sides as well.
Yeah.
That could have different components. And then when you think about pyramids being built, you think there's that bottom layer, but those were individual also blocks that were laid together on that bottom layer. So you can then, I guess, start to take those pieces apart and put them into where they need to go. We're starting to get some people in here telling us about their different career fields. We've got a realtor, some people doing online courses. So we'll be keeping a look at those guys, and hopefully we can put something together here in a minute. With the live stream, does somebody have to go live and it be very product service based, live stream, or is the entertaining type of show more effective? How do you balance those or put them together? Do they need to stay separate? What's worked in your path that you've been on?
Yeah, it very much depends on what it is that you're selling as a business and the audience you're trying to reach. So in my case, I'm typically working in the software as a service, the consulting, that sort of thing. The price points are higher. And so most of the live streaming that I do or have produced for others is focused on being educational or even edutainment, right? Like this. You're entertaining, Chad. So you're the entertainment aspect of this particular live stream. I'm bringing the education. I'm doing the teach. Right. So this is edutainment, maybe skewed towards the educational, right? Where we're not doing a full-on product demo of Wave.video or any other product here on this particular stream. But there are plenty of examples in the world of live streaming. Take live shopping, right? Where someone will go on Amazon or Twitch or one of these other platforms, and they will just do pure product demonstration, and it works. I saw a fellow in China a couple weeks ago made like just millions of dollars in a day just doing this nonstop marathon live stream. I mean, no, Chad, you want to rethink your life, right? He just live streamed all day long, demonstrating all these products. Same thing happens on Amazon Prime Day, right? Where savvy Amazon live streamers will go on and they will talk about different products, TVs, whatever. That works in that particular environment because, first of all, we're talking B2C. And we're also talking a very transactional, short buyer journey, right? We talked about the buyer journey a moment ago. Well, the length of the buyer journey will vary depending on the product and the price point and the audience. Someone who wants to buy my virtual event intensive that's like $6,000 for a day, that might take a month or two to figure that out. Whereas if I'm just going to buy a new coffee mug from Amazon, that really should only take me about 10 minutes. I mean, this is not going to be a long buyer's journey for me to find the perfect mug and order it and have it shipped. So there's that disparity there. So there are opportunities and instances where you can be very transactional in a live stream. But most of the time, most successful live streams are going to be more like this one, where it's a conversation, it's educational. If there's much product mention at all, it's very peripheral. And that's, again, why live streaming is uniquely suited to top of funnel content. You can do product demos on a live stream. But if you're in our space, SaaS and service oriented and consulting and that sort of thing, that's not going to help you build an audience long term. So that's probably not the kind of content you're going to want to create on a regular basis.
Gotcha. Does it help to have two really attractive guys such as ourselves on the show?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't overstate that enough, what a benefit that is.
Well, I figured that I was on track with that particular piece. Somebody asked, how do you spell edutainment?
You got it, Gabe.
Gabe,
you did it.
You got it correct. So awesome.
So you win a prize. You win a prize. Whatever Chad's offering today for prizes, you got it.
Well, speaking of prizes, keep on commenting because we will be picking from those of you who are engaging with us today. 3 of you are going to win a pack of our new Wave video stickers. Mike, you're going to want some of these because there's actually a Chad sticker. Yeah. In fact, there you go. I didn't design them. They showed it to me, and I went, "Oh my goodness, I'm a sticker." But 3 of you are going to win.
Quite the same as being an action hero, right? Like I follow like Katie Sackhoff on Instagram, and it's so funny when they get excited because they're in a Star Wars show and now they've got a Star Wars action figure. It's not at the same level.
No, but it's a step. I've got my bobblehead from Lima now. I'm also a sticker. So, there's obviously some kind of trajectory that I'm on. I don't know where it goes next. So I'm excited. Maybe I make it into the metaverse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Avatar next.
How would that make you feel to put on your virtual reality goggles and there I am?
How much longer are we on? Okay.
So look, besides the stickers, though, we also give one grand prize away, and Agorapulse and Mike have generously offered. What are we giving them, sir?
A free year of Agorapulse Premium, which is worth almost $2,000. All the profiles and users you need to be able to manage your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, scheduling, commenting, listening, reporting, the works.
It's absolutely the most incredible tool out there. Like if it
For
went away,
social
I
media
would cry.
management. I mean,
And for other things.
that's what we do.
Yeah, it's not going to help you build a house, but
No.
it'll help you manage your social media in a way that you can increase your sales so that you can build a house. So it does
There
actually
you
help
go.
you build a house. There you go. It's good for
Yes.
everything. Wonderful. All right, so keep commenting. We'll be picking a winner from there here shortly. Mike, live streams. Okay, so we got to do them. It helps us get our sales funnel going. But hey, we got to get people to the live stream first. So how do you get people to watch the live stream?
You definitely need to pre-promote. And by that, I mean, you need to tell your audience that you're going live on such and such a date and such a channel. Easiest thing to do is to schedule them up to a week advance. I think it's what the networks currently allow. That's usually what I do. Like I'm going to be scheduling next Wednesday's show today. And when you do that, it creates a post on all your social channels and you can pick one, you can link to it. And then you can create additional social copy to share over the next few days or however long in advance that you're scheduling that. And you can let your email subscribers know. But here's the real fun thing. When you have a guest, like I'm a guest on this show, you can provide that guest with graphics, social copy, email copy, whatever you can provide, whatever they might potentially share, and say, here, Mike, if you'd like to let your audience know that you're going to be a guest on this show on such and such a date, here's a click to tweet. Here's a graphic. Here's an email template you can share with your audience. Now, that works if you're talking to influencers, if you're talking to anybody at all. Obviously, if it's a solo show, you're kind of on your own. But definitely having that cadence and that habit of inviting your audience and making it as easy as possible for anyone else associated with your show to invite their audience. That's going to help bring in that live aspect. The other thing that you're doing really, really well is keeping the audience engaged, keeping them commenting, because I already said at the outset, the more people comment on this live show, the more likely it is that other people in their streams will see the fact that they're engaging with this video and spread the live aspect of this particular production. So the more engaged and interested you can keep your audience, the better your live show is going to perform. And that's a real cautionary tale for hosts who don't pay any attention to their comments, who don't pay any attention to their audience, who don't show the audience that they're listening. You don't have to answer every question. You don't have to put every single comment on screen. But if you get into a habit of at least doing some, at least creating windows of opportunity in your show to do that, that's going to train the audience. Oh, if I leave an interesting comment or question, Chad might bring it on screen. Chad might say my name on film, right? And his guest might actually answer my question. And there's two things that are happening there. The first is that you're training them, like I said, to have that engagement and keep those comments going. The second thing that's really powerful, and this is why live video specifically is so important for business success. If I say, hey, Pranav, thanks for your question. Let's talk about real estate funnels for just a moment. In his mind, Pranav thinks I am literally speaking only to him at this moment. The reality is I'm obviously talking to a camera, right? But Pranav can see my eyes. He can hear my voice. He can see my facial expressions. He hears his name come out of my lips into his ears. And so that creates brain chemicals that allow he and I to have a connection right now. And everybody else witnesses this interaction that's happening. Wow, Mike's answering Pranav's question. That's awesome. And I do hope we have time to get to your question. I don't want to just make that up, right? But when that happens, that creates a stronger connection that builds rapport. I know you've heard Stephanie talk about this, right? That builds rapport between the presenter or the host and the audience. And so the next time Pranav sees that you've got a live video scheduled, he's going to be that much more likely to tune in and view because he had such a great, hopefully, experience the previous time. And when he sees the brand that's associated with that live stream in an ad, in a Google search, in a blog post, referenced by an influencer, that's going to compound the brand awareness and make it that much more likely that when he actually has the need for, in this case, video, repurposing and reproduction, he'll remember wave.video.
Right.
And it'll bring with it, subconsciously, the emotional ties and strengths that were formed as a result of the live video.
Awesome. One of the questions that was brought up here just a moment ago, and I thought was actually really interesting, was they were asking if you could recommend a way to structure your calls to action. The question was specifically in an educational type live stream, but the purpose here is be able to word them in a way that they don't sound too salesy. That's from AC Leonard P.
Yeah, that's a great question. And because you are absolutely right. We can't have this kind of a dialogue, conversation, back and forth interview, and then all of a sudden give you a pitch in a commercial for a product and a service that's going to be disjointed. It's not going to flow. And quite frankly, if it's too hard of a sales pitch, you might just decide to go do something else. You don't have to sit here. You're not in a room. You're at your desk or on your phone someplace. So the best way to do it is to think about, what is my audience doing at this particular moment? You got to think ahead because you have to plan this stuff. But we're having a conversation about sales funnels. We know that we've had the back and forth prior to the show. We know kind of what we're going to talk about. This isn't scripted, but we have talking points. And so we could be thinking in advance, what kinds of additional questions could the audience have? And what kind of a learning state are they in right now? In other words, most of you sitting watching this video right now are watching a video. You're here to learn and be entertained. You're not here to necessarily be sold. So what could I tell you right now that wouldn't break that trance that we've created, that wouldn't break the flow that's happening right now with the video? And so what we do at Agency Accelerated, we'll talk about this more in a moment, I'm sure, but what we do at Agency Accelerated is I introduce, about halfway through the show, an additional piece of content that you can go sign up for. Usually it's a webinar or something like that. That's very similar to what it is that we're doing at that moment in the show. It's a related topic. It's just like if you're writing a blog post and you're writing a blog post on a particular topic, and let's say it's 1,200 words, throughout that particular blog post, you can link to other blog posts that go into a little more depth on some of the topics that you're talking through throughout that piece of content. And it's not jarring. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel intrusive or interruptive. Seth Godin talked a lot about interruptive marketing over the past decade or so. That's commercials, right? We're watching our favorite episode of Friends, and all of a sudden it shifts to commercials, and now we've got to endure 2.5 minutes of ads for things that we may or may not be interested in. They're only guessing based on our demographic and the channel we're watching. They're not related to the content that we were just consuming a moment ago. So if we can get over that and kind of avoid that intrusive, interruptive kind of advertising and look for ways to kind of smoothly interject. Oh, by the way, we're talking about diversifying agency revenue. Here's a webinar that you can watch that'll help you diversify your agency revenue even more. That's how we do it, at least.
Awesome. And I don't know if you just lost me there for a moment. Hopefully everybody.
I just kept talking. It's fine.
Good. I figured that you would, because It's one thing I've always known about Mike. If you need him to keep talking, he can keep talking. So it worked out well. So, like I said, we're
You've always known that about me?
I've always known that. Oh, love it! This wonderful hotel Wi-Fi. So,
Yeah.
um, what somebody watches the live stream. Now we're talking funnels. What typically do you hope to achieve as the next step? And what kind of conversion rate do you kind of go for?
Well, that actually ties into the question that Kate just asked. She was asking about how do we link to and measure the results of the things that I was just talking about a moment ago. So I use Bitly links for anything that I'm referencing during the show. So I'll give some context. Agency Accelerated is our live show at Agorapulse. We go live every other week. It's hosted by Stephanie Liu. And each episode, we're interviewing another brand or an agency coach. Kate's going to be on the show, I think, in about 5 weeks. And we're exploring ways that agencies who are in a growth mode can really continue to go into that growth mode. How do they scale? How do they increase their revenue? How do they grow their team? How do they diversify their revenue, right? So we programmatically insert through the run of show, halfway through the show, hey, by the way, we're talking about diversifying your sales funnel, your revenue streams, and so on. Here's a webinar. I said this before. Here's a webinar that we offer on how you can add social media management services to your agency's overall, bank of services to diversify. Because like maybe we're talking to an advertising agency or an SEO agency, something like that, who doesn't do social media management. And the thing is, we use a Bitly link that's been customized. So I can say, Stephanie can say on camera, Bitly/add agency revenue. And I put it on screen. I'm the producer. So I put it on screen. We put it in the comments. And of course, it exists in the show recap and the podcast and everything. So we can measure two things: how many people clicked the link and how many people signed up. And having that kind of very, very specific and focused funnel is crucial. If all we do is send them to our pricing page, they're going to get mixed in with everybody else in the world that's going to our pricing page or a services page or even a blog post. But by using a specific Bitly link and a specific, in this case, landing page that's converting, I don't promote that webinar anywhere else. It's just for the Agency Accelerated crowd, so that at the end of the month and the quarter and the year, we can look back and say, yeah, we had 600 people sign up for that webinar. And because they've signed up for a webinar, now they're in our sales funnel, right? We can track the whole thing. We see how many viewers and clicks the live stream generated in the blog post and so on, how many people signed up for the webinar, and now they're in our HubSpot system, and we can track what else they do. Did they sign up for a free trial? Did they subscribe? Which means at the end, I have actual revenue data that connects it all. That's how we do it.
Absolutely incredible. For those who may not know, you mentioned a word some may not be completely familiar with. You said that you do this using a programmatic function. You want to just kind of explain what that means to people?
Yeah. So what we do with our show is we have a run of show. In fact, Stephanie has this thing called the Video Script Maker, which is awesome. It's a spreadsheet. You can buy it for $50, I think. And you can tell the spreadsheet who the guest is, who you are, bio, the topics you're going to cover, and it will generate a run of show for you, which is pretty amazing. So then it gives you your introduction of the show, your introduction of the guest, and then how you flow through the show from point to point to point. And this is really important for having a successful live stream. If you just go live, you hit the live button and you just start talking and you don't have a plan for what you're going to talk about, you don't have a plan for what you're going to ask your guest, it can quickly go off the rails in any number of directions. None of them are good. But if you have a run of show with like this show, we started off with a countdown video, and then we've got Chad, you're introducing the show, and you're introducing, where you're at, what you're doing, and that sort of thing. And then you bring me on, you introduce me, and then we go back and forth with some talking points. And then once we get through all these questions, you're going to wrap up the show. There's a show flow there. Now, what we do with ours is interject a couple of very specific things that we want to make sure we're doing throughout the show. Actually, 3 things I want to talk about. The first is, like I mentioned, we have a point in the show where we always talk about the webinar. We make sure that we drop that middle of the show, and then we do a reminder at the end of the show. We also share some kind of a story, usually about an Agorapulse customer. Maybe sometimes it's how Stephanie uses the tool, because she's a big power user of the tool. But like next week, we're going to share a video testimonial, just a minute long, that we're going to play dynamically in the show about how that particular agency uses Agorapulse. But it's programmed in the run of show. And as a remote producer, I'm just following along the script, right? Stephanie reads the introduction. We have an intro video. She says a little bit more. She introduces the guest. And at each point, I have cues, so I know what to do next. The other third point that I wanted to mention, kind of tying to the audience engagement that we were talking about before, some people find it, I don't know, disruptive a little bit to keep going to the audience. Every couple of minutes, there's another comment, and there's another comment, particularly on a busy live stream. And that can be disruptive, particularly if the guest is talking. Like, you don't want to interrupt me right now with a comment unless it's super really honed in on what I'm talking about. So in our run of show, we actually build in moments to go to the audience. Now, Stephanie's in control. She can go to the audience anytime she wants to, but we have these very specific moments. She'll say things like, hey, Agency Accelerator family, you know what we're about to cover next. It's going to tie everything else that we've been talking about together. But before we do, let me check in with the live audience and see what they're doing. And she'll read some comments, and she'll bring some engagement. That does 2 things. First of all, again, it builds that habit of, there's going to be audience engagement. If I get my comment in now, Stephanie might read it and make eye contact and say my name. I might hear Stephanie Lou say my name. How awesome is that, right? And then the second thing that does is it makes it so easy for repurposing. So easy, because I'm not constantly interrupting the flow of the show with comments on screen and reading that kind of stuff. Because here's the thing. If you're going to reproduce a live video for a podcast or an audiogram where it's not on video, the person's just listening to it, you don't want to have a lot of that audience engagement. You don't want demonstration, that sort of thing. You want to be able to easily cut that out. Right. And I've decided in advance, hey, Stephanie, we're going to create these 3-4 blocks total during our show where we're going to hit live comments. That way, as the podcast editor, it's super easy for me to just go click, click, delete, click, click, delete, click, click, delete. And all that stuff's gone.
Brilliant. I always knew you were smart, but now you've taken it to a whole new level. No, that's very valuable information. And folks, we appreciate the comments that you're bringing here today as well. And I apologize at the moment because for some reason, when the Wi-Fi decided to kick me off and put me back in, it is now not showing me the comments. It's a lovely little glitch. And I
do see some questions about the link for that thing, and I will find it and I'll give it to the show producer and she can share it in the comments.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And our behind the scenes wonder, Maria, who's producing the show, she's chatting with me and sharing some of the comments with me as well, but I definitely can't see them at the moment. So I do apologize for that. Wonderful stuff. What you've been doing the live stream thing for a long time. What was your worst, oh no, that just happened moment?
Well, gosh, okay. First of all, you're right. I've been doing this a long time. I'm going to date myself. I've been doing this since Google Plus Hangout on Air days, which we're now hitting 10 years. I've been doing live streaming for 10 years on all the platforms, Blab, Google Plus, Facebook now, LinkedIn, everything. Probably the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's more of a webinar. It was more of a webinar setting, but it was a live video presentation I'm not going to name names, but it was for people we know. And I introduced them. They started giving their presentation. And about 5 minutes in, their video went black. And they just kept talking. They had no idea that their video was out. all we had was audio. So just imagine it's just me like in a corner, totally black screen, and these other people talking through their presentation points for a solid 25 more minutes. No actual video at all. And all I could do was just, I had no way at the time of alerting them, fixing the situation. All I could do was just sit there and smile and nod. That was pretty painful.
And that's the only time you've ever had a glitch, right? When you were live streaming?
That was it. That was in 10 years. That's the only time.
Oh, that's so fun. Love it. Well, as far as the funnel, you were talking
Yeah.
earlier, and there's, the different levels, but then you can have the different components and pieces that go here and there and this and this. We both know it can get incredibly complex. Are there any tools or things out there that you suggest or that you've enjoyed using that have helped maybe simplify the planning process, mapping it out?
I would say for most people, just use a Google Sheet. We don't need to overcomplicate it, but if you use a Google Sheet, it's going to have most of what you need for most businesses. Yes, there are wonderful content management system tools out there that are freaking expensive. So they're really for companies where you've got thousands of pieces of content, you've got multiple, ideal customer profiles that you've set up, and you've got all these different funnels going on. For most businesses, use Google Sheets, supplemented with data from Google Analytics and your own website. So you go into Google Sheets and you start building out tabs for every funnel. And every funnel, you're going to outline, here are the main landing pages or landing page at the top that you really want to drive people into. And then you can map out, you can link to the specific pieces of content that you're building or have built for that particular funnel. And then you can begin to note on a regular basis. You can just check in once a month or more often if you need to. How's that content performing? You can have, obviously, Google Analytics tracking traffic, but you can also have goals set up in Google Analytics so that you know how many people are going up that funnel to that converting landing page and actually converting. That's important. And you can see how that funnel is performing. And you can also track in that sheet, when was the last time you updated any of those posts? That's a really key component when it comes to actual website content we're talking about at this moment and how well it converts. When did you last publish it? And when did you last update it? Because if we want it to convert well, we want it to rank well with Google, we're going to have to update it on a regular basis. So you can have a 30, 60, 90-day schedule where you go in and you make sure, for instance, a piece of content that you created 6 months ago has links, if appropriate, to the content that you added last week. So that doesn't happen automatically, right? If you've got an article on what is an audiogram, going with that metaphor or analogy we created earlier, and you just create an article last week about the 10 best audiograms, you can go to the audiogram article from 6 months ago and link forward to the new blog post and help that interlinking happen. But yeah, as far as tools, Google Sheets is really what I would use. It's what I do use.
No, I would have probably gone that direction as well. So I think that's a good suggestion, and I'm sure that there's some templates and different things out there, people to download and get help with. It's. I also love the fact that Wave video and also Agorapulse. So, the two tools there also help with getting all of that content out and being able to repurpose and create the different pieces and put them on the different platforms, like you were suggesting, and updating those posts. With Wave, obviously the fact too that you can easily format things in all of the different crazy sizes that everybody needs for their specific social media platform, but then taking those and then uploading them into Agorapulse and having them scheduled and go out. So great little mix there. And then you just get it on your Google Sheet. I really, really like that. So we made a little promise. I know we don't have a ton of time, but maybe we can just do a quick little run through of just a quick funnel. One of the ones that was listed, and it's probably something a lot of people have considered maybe creating themselves, was a short little sales funnel for an online course?
Yeah. So if we're talking about an online course for your business and not like online courses in general, right? So, like, for instance, I've got an online course for my blogging business. What you're going to want to do is go back and consider that pyramid that I talked about, where at the top of the pyramid is the landing page for your online course. That's the page where people are going to convert. And that's the page you want to rank. That's the page you want to drive people into. It's the bottom of the funnel at that point. Somebody who's thinking about self education, thinking about learning the thing that you're teaching through your online course, they may be comparing you to another course. They may be comparing you to free options. They may be comparing you to university. It obviously just depends on the course, right? If you want to learn how to be a social media manager, there's university classes, there's free YouTube videos, and there's everything in between, right? Books. So,
Do
as
you have a
the owner
suggestion
of
of a
the
good
course,
book on social media management by chance?
I don't know, maybe this one right here might be a pretty good one, Ultimate Guide to Social Media Management. But here's the thing. So, it's beholden on you as the business owner to think about what are the alternative solutions that my audience is considering. You need to think about that and then list them out and then create content around them. This is such compelling content. Not enough people do it, and it will put you head and shoulders above your competition. If you are creating a course on social media management, how to be a social media manager, it is beholden to you to think about there are YouTube videos, there are books, there are college courses, there are other online courses, and then create the middle and bottom of funnel content that compares and contrasts those. Why is your course better than those? Why is your course worth $999? Why should I invest that? What am I going to get out of that? Create that content and then go up from there. Now we're talking about all the different ways that people can learn about social media management. We're talking about all the different ways that people can learn about whatever it is that you're teaching through your course. And you're thinking about the pain points that your target audience is going through right now that your course solves. Maybe they want to work from home. Maybe they lost their job in the pandemic. Maybe they need a second source of income. Maybe they want to do more with their lives. Whatever it is that you think your target audience is going through, again, these are areas that you can talk about in content. But the more broad you get with those topics, the higher up the funnel you're getting, all the way to the top of the funnel, where now you could have a live stream that's all about working from home. And you're interviewing new guests every single week, talking about working from home. The call to action is, hey, if you want to work from home, I've got a course here that you can take that's going to help you do that in 6 weeks. That makes sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. I've got one more question I want to ask you, but before we do that, let's give some stuff away real quick. All right. Purple. We only give stuff away when the screen is purple and yellow. It's just a rule. So just purple and yellow are the official colors of prizes. Google it and let me know what you find out. Um, so, 3 winners. All of you are getting a pack of our new Wave video stickers, which consider yourself one of the lucky ones. Also includes a sticker of my face. So, yeah. Hey, that's a great place for it, Mike. Uh, here's our winners. So, our 2 winners that are getting stickers, and then we'll announce the grand prize. So, congrats to is it Pranav?
That's what
I
I
hope I
said.
said that right. Pranav and Venice Robbins. You both getting some stickers, so make sure you contact us. Our producer will put a way to get in touch with us in the chat. And the winner of the grand prize, which includes stickers and what, Mike? What was that other grand prize?
Baby Yoda sticker. Is that the grand prize?
Wow, that I mean, you
I
can either have
know.
a Baby Yoda
I
sticker
know. And I only
or
have, I mean, that is one of a kind now, but we're going to give away, instead of that, a year of Agorapulse for free at the premium package, which is $19.08, nearly $2,000 for that year, for you and your entire team and all of your social profiles.
absolutely incredible, y'all. Incredible. Like, that's an outstanding prize. And the lucky winner today is AC Leonard. So congrats, AC Leonard. You're also going to get the stickers, but
Indie Bank Coach. Well done, sir.
yeah. So that will be exciting. We can't wait to
Julia
hear
will
how it
send
works
you
out for
my
you.
information and I'll hook you up.
Wow, outstanding. All right. So my one last question. Making you nervous?
Yes, it really is. I'm literally trying to think in my mind, have we gone through all the topics? Was this on the list, or is this a Chad bonus question that I'm not going to be comfortable answering?
So
I have no choice but to accept the results of whatever comes at me.
challenge accepted. So guys, just so you understand his nervousness, you know, Mike knows that I have a little reputation of having fun. I call it fun. He may call it something else, but I call it having fun. But
the court order calls it harassment, but that's okay.
Your attorney does? Is that what you said?
Tomato, tomato.
Your attorney calls it harassment. One of my favorite memories with Mike was I got asked to be on a show that Agorapulse sponsored, and we were doing a Family Feud event, and it was guys against the girls. It was me, Mike, and Jeff C. Were on the guys team, and as they went through, they introduced each of us, and they only had the camera on the person they were introducing. So unless you were really looking off to the side in the green room or staging area on the software, you weren't paying attention to me, and I knew Mike wasn't. And so I had purposely brought a banana with me so that when they did the introductions, I would just kind of stare off into space and just be eating my banana. And I will never forget that's the look. I was going to say I'd never forget the look, but that was and Scott Ayers made a GIF of it, so it now lives in
it lives forever. Yeah.
So no, but here's the question: what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make when it comes to designing their funnel?
Well, particularly from a live streaming perspective, we kind of touched on this a moment ago, where you could enter a live stream, you could go live without a plan for what you're going to talk about in that live. And to take it to a broader, higher level, you could live stream without a plan for how that live stream is going to fit into your funnel. And I'll be very transparent. We did that. We made that mistake with a show that we used to have at Agorapulse called Social Pulse Weekly. It was a great live stream. Every week we went live. We had a show host, our social media manager at the time, Jennifer Watson, and she would interview great guests and they talk about the latest social media news without a plan. There was no plan. And this is as much my fault as anybody else's. I was helped ideate that particular show. We didn't decide in advance, okay, how is this live stream show going to integrate with the rest of what we're doing at Agorapulse when it comes to marketing and funnel building? Now, that's a mistake we will not make, and we have not made with Agency Accelerated. Agency Accelerated is targeting agencies, and that's who we're targeting at Agorapulse. We're creating content that is top of funnel, and we need top of funnel content at Agorapulse. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we had Lee Goff talking about sales systems. A couple of weeks before that, we had Guy Kawasaki talking about storytelling. That's creating really interesting, engaging content that's helping us get in front of agencies. And I already told you, during the show, we're hooking them in to a very specific webinar that we can mention that hits a very specific pain point that we know our audience is hitting, right? We had a show with Payman Tai from Visme all about how to create a visual brand experience for agencies on behalf of their clients, how to diversify your revenue by doing that. And so we know that if they're watching that show, they want to diversify their revenue. So let's diversify a little bit more by adding social media management services and that sort of thing. So that's the cautionary tale, right? Don't do what we did, which was to have a show for over a year, every single week going live. I think we had over 100 episodes. We probably went to live for 2 years without a real plan
Mm.
for how to repurpose that, right? So here we're creating every other week an hour-long piece of video. And instead of just letting it sit on a Facebook page and on a YouTube channel, no. Stephanie's team is creating blog post recaps and transcripts. I'm creating a podcast that's now, ranking for, a marketing agency podcast. So it's getting in front of our target audience. And, we're using tools like Wave.video to create video snippets and audiograms and those kinds of assets that we can then push back out to social media. And I have an email template, why not, that I edit every single episode, that I send it back to that particular guest after the episode. Say, hey, Guy, thanks for being on our show. It was terrific. Here's the blog post recap and the transcript and the podcast and the YouTube video. And by the way, here's a folder with some 3 really, really great quotes that you made, some awesome things where you talked about how now you know Chad and Chad knows you and you guys are connected right on the show. Chad knows what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I send that to him. I send that to the guest. And maybe they do something with it, maybe they don't. But a lot of times they do, right? So when we got a brand like Visme, that's kind of understood that when we're bringing them onto the show, they're going to help promote it. So that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, right? Where we're growing the live audience, or at least we're growing the audience of the show overall. One other quick tip I'll share with you is that we're heavy users into calendar marketing. In other words, we have a calendar that you can subscribe to so that you know when our next show is going to be.
Wow.
You can get that into your Google Calendar. We just use, I think it's adevent.com, which creates actually a couple different calendars, Google, iCal, the works. And then we put it on a webpage, agorapulse.com/calendar. And so now we've got hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people that have subscribed to the calendar so they don't ever miss one of our live shows.
And so every time you add a new episode, it just updates their Google Calendar for them.
Yeah. So, they'll see that next week we're talking to Jarek Robbins. He's the son of Tony Robbins. And in a couple weeks, I'm going to populate next quarter's shows. And they'll see that we're talking to Kevin Lau from Adobe. We're talking to Rory Sutherland from Ogilvy and a bunch of other fine people. So all that gets put in their calendar automatically. Yes, Kate. Create the calendar. I just added to somebody's to-do list.
It's so funny. It's funny that because I still can't see the daggum chat comments, right? And that you just said, yes, Kate, do that. Because while you've been talking this whole time, in my head, I totally see Kate. Guys, if you don't know Kate, she's with Wave Video. She's part of the brains behind helping us get this show put together. And I pictured Kate. She's writing. And I just, there's this big to-do list coming of okay, we're going to do this, and this. So
Kate's terrific. I remember, we got her and I sat down in Lima because she was in Lima in August, right? And she's like, hey, Mike, I'm thinking about doing this show, so we had a great little conversation about what we were doing or what I was envisioning. And I don't think we had gotten to that point at that time of the whole, setting up the calendar and that sort of thing. So that was, there's something new for you, Kate.
That's awesome. It's just funny that you mentioned it because I knew, I was like in my head, I was like, she's writing stuff down, and she's amazing. she's so good at that, and then getting the whole team over at Wave Video. They're just a bunch of rock stars. It's a privilege to be able to be a part of them. So, Mike, thank you so much for coming and doing this. It's always nice to get to chat with you. This is the longest we've ever gotten just to sit and just talk, just the two of us, because typically one or the other's busy doing whatever we're doing when we're where we're at. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you so much for that, guys. Next week we're going to have the wonderful Megan Powers here and talking about what Mike mentioned, the whole repurposing thing. She's going to be sharing with us how she repurposes her live streams into a podcast. So we're going to be drilling down into that. Mike, I know you know her very well. So
Megan's terrific. I've been on Making a Marketer, her show, a couple times. Yeah.
Yep, and I'll actually be on her show in a few weeks myself. So, and funny thing, before we ended with a little blurt for next week. She's here in Vegas at a conference that I'm shooting video
Really?
at. We
Oh,
ran
that's
into
funny.
each other. It was crazy. The world is so small. Mike, thank you so much, folks. Thank you for being here with us. Glitches and all, but that's why we're here, because we're all figuring this out. Week you can tune in Wednesdays noon Eastern, so we can all learn together how to live better.